Origin of Hindu mythology. Creation stories continued. What accounts of the origin of the universe are found in Hinduism. In Hinduism, the universe is millions of years old. In line with the Hindu belief in reincarnation, the universe we live in is not the first or indeed that last universe. For Hindus, the universe was created by Brahma, the creator who made the universe out of himself. After Brahma created the world, it is the power of Vishnu which preserved the world and human beings. As part of the cycle of birth, life and death, it is Shiva who will ultimately destroy the universe. This is not necessarily as bad as it might sound because it allows Brahma to start the process of creation all over again. Examples of how the origins of the universe are explained in Hinduism include a lotus flower grew from Lord Vishnu's navel with Brahma sitting on it. Brahma separated the flower into three parts: the heavens, the earth, and the sky. Out of loneliness, Brahma split himself into two to create a male and a female. From this male and female, all beings were created. Another story makes reference to life coming from the cracking of an enormous egg, which is the life from which the universe is born. The hymn of creation from the Rig Veda concludes that nobody knows how the universe came into being and even questions whether Brahman knows. Some Hindu texts offer a more scientific explanation based on the evolution of primary elements from a single source. These accounts and others were written many centuries ago in or around what we now know as India. They were not necessarily intended to be taken as literal scientific truth, but are indicators of the complexity and infinite nature of the universe. Many Hindus understand religious teachings about the universe in the following ways. Brahma is the creator god who works with Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva to maintain an unending cycle of universe. All three are aspects of Brahma. Time is not a straight line. Instead, there are eternal cycles with universe being created, existing and dying, followed by recreation, existence, and death. There is no beginning and no end. This is mirrored in the belief in reincarnation. Two symbols, a swastika symbol and the OM symbol. A swastika symbol featured on a tile at Hindu temple on Diu Island, India. The symbol is one of good luck and good fortune. The OM symbol is composed of three Sanskrit letters and represent three sounds, A, U, and M, which when combined are considered a sacred sound. The OM symbol is often found at family shrine and East Hindu temples. The Vedas are ancient texts that are sacred in India and renowned the world over. There are four Vedas known as the Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, the Sama Veda, and the Atharva Veda. Vedas teach the three paths of salvation. These paths are Jnana, knowledge, Bhakti, devotion, and Karma, action. The Rig Veda is identified with the path of knowledge, the Yajur Veda with the path of action, and the Sama Veda with the path of devotion.
So, good day everyone. This is Cambaya Francine, and for today's video, I'm gonna talk about Hindu mythology, their gods, creations, and earliest hero. So here is the outline of the topic. We were gonna talk about Hinduism, Hindu Trimurti and Hindu gods, creations, and the earliest heroes in Hindu mythology. So Hinduism is one of the oldest religion in the world. So the Vedas is the oldest and sacred text of Hinduism and unique religion because it was a fusion of various beliefs. Hindu mythology is populated by an enormous cast of deities, demons, demigods, humans, and animals. So the major figures in Hindu mythology are the deity, the gods and goddesses, demigods, the one who is part god and human, and the pantheon, all gods of the culture. So, some researchers said that Hinduism or Hindu mythology has a total of 33 million gods. But some researchers also said that Hinduism or Hindu mythology recognizes an approximately 333 million gods. So that many. But don't you worry because I have here the most prominent deities of Hinduism or Hindu mythology. So first, we will gonna know what is the Hindu Trimurti or the triad of the three gods, or it is the triple deity of supreme divinity in Hinduism. So it consists of the Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva. So we're gonna know who is Lord Brahma. For your information, Lord Brahma must not be mistaken with Brahman because Brahman, the letter N, is the most supreme of all beings in the Hinduism. So Brahman is the absolute reality that has no form. And he also keeps the universe in existence. While Brahma, without the N, Brahma is the creator among the supreme triad or the Hindu Trimurti or Trinity. So, Lord Brahma is the creator of the universe and of all beings. So it is as depicted in the Hindu cosmology. So he is also regarded as the father of Dharma, means the religious and moral law governing individual conduct to maintain the balance of the world. So it's also a timeless order of all life and which believed by the Hindus that holds the world together. So it has no ending and it has no beginning. So here are the symbolisms of Lord Brahma. So he has four faces that each faces recites one of the four Vedas. So the four Vedas are the Rig Veda, the Sama Veda, the Yajur Veda, and the Atharva Veda. So the lotus symbolizes nature and the living essence of all things. Then the prayer beads are the substances used in creation. Also, it means concentration and control of the mind. The golden clothing symbolizes activity and creation. The Brahma meditating on lotus, it is rooted in the infinite reality. The water pot, the water represents the substance used in creation. The book symbolizes knowledge in the Vedas. The beard symbolizes wisdom in the eternal process of creation. And the four hands symbolizes directions. Also, it symbolizes intellect, ego, mind, and self-confidence. So next, we're gonna know more about who is Lord Vishnu. So Lord Vishnu is the preserver among the supreme triad or the Hindu Trimurti. So his role is to protect humans and to restore order to the world. So Hindus believed in reincarnation. So, and it is said that the Lord Vishnu reincarnates to return to the earth in troubled times to restore the balance of good and evil. So it is also said that Lord Vishnu has reincarnated 9 times already. And Hindus believe he will be reincarnated again one last time upon the end of the world. So an idea to be remembered that Lord Vishnu, so he is the God that protects the universe through reincarnation. So next, symbolism of Lord Vishnu. So first, the conch. So the conch, the sound produces which represents the primeval sound of creation. Then the chakra or discus symbolizes the mind. The lotus flower is an example of glorious existence and liberation. And the mace represents mental and physical strength. So next is Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva is the destroyer of the world among the supreme triad. He may represent goodness, benevolence, and serve as the protector. So he is associated with time and particularly as the destroyer and creator of all things. So Hindus believe that the powers of Lord Shiva destroys illusion and imperfection to have a way of beneficial change in the world or to create new creations. So, for you to remember that Lord Shiva is the God that destroys the universe in order to recreate it. So, here's the symbolism of Lord Shiva. So, the crescent moon on his head symbolizes peace and calmness. The snake coiled on the body indicates lack of fear. So, even a snake can be tamed if we are fearless. So the trishul or trishul indicates that God always protects us. It is a symbol of protection. The Rudrashka Mala is a symbol of meditation and a reminder to always remember God. The tiger skin denotes samsara. We should not let the wild jungle of this world overpower us. We should vanquish it. So the Ganga symbolizes purity. It is purity that should emanate from our bodies in the form of pure thoughts and pure actions. And the third eye represents anger. Hence, it should always remain closed. Then the Damaru is a symbol for rejoicing. It is indicative of music and dancing.
Hello everyone, this is Sherwin Potrido and I will be discussing about the early Vedic Hindu gods and goddesses. To begin with, Indra, the king of Devas, was the most important god in the pantheon of Vedic mythology, and as such still is counted as a significant deity among the present Hindu gods and goddesses. Alluding to the Indo-European roots of early Vedic religion, Indra is often perceived as the Indian counterpart of the European deities like Zeus, Perun, and even Odin and Thor. Pertaining to the latter, he was venerated as a king of Devas, benevolent divine beings, who symbolize the aspects of thunder, storms, rains, and flow of rivers. By virtue of his stature among the early Hindu gods, Indra being mounted on his imposing white elephant and armed with his thunderbolt Vajra, also commanded the heavenly Devas host, who dwelt on Swarga or heaven, against their adversaries, the malevolent demonic entities known as the Asuras. As for the Indian Hindu creation myth, Indra, the leader of the Devas, was born from Purusha, a masculine primordial entity, and given his numerous heroic exploits in the mythical narrative, Indra is also called the Vrathan, the slayer of the serpent demon Vrtra, and is noted as the father of Arjuna to become one of the heroes of the Indian epic Mahabharata. However, over time, the narrative also tends to portray the negative characteristics of the warrior king of the gods, like his penchant for the intoxicating soma drink and amorous activities related to other people's wives. In post-Vedic literature, he is even ridiculed on occasions pertaining to his fighty behavior, thus narratively alluding to the rising prominence of other Hindu gods like the Trimurti triple gods. Next to be discussed would be Agni, the fire god. The literal Sanskrit term for fire, Agni, unsurprisingly is the major deity of fire among the ancient Hindu gods and goddesses. To that end, it has been hypothesized that Agni was possibly the second most important of early Indian gods after Indra, as suggested by the number of hymns dedicated to him in the Rig Veda. Interestingly enough, fire is still central to the theme of Hindu worship, with its crucial role in the various yajnas or rites, and even beyond his aspect of fire in the earthly domain. Agni symbolized other forms of energy in the atmosphere, including both the lightning and the sun. Furthermore, Agni was or is also regarded as the divine medium that accepts the sacrifices made during yajnas to the Hindu gods, thus essentially alluding to his early role as the connection or messenger between other divine beings. Over time, the scope of Agni, rather than a physical manifestation of a fire god, is regarded more as a presentation of transformative energy that is internalized. However, the role of fire still remains important in Hinduism, ranging from the various festivities and rituals like Diwali and marriage ceremonies. Surya, the sun god. The literal Sanskrit term for the sun, Surya, is the major solar deity among the Hindu gods and goddesses, also known by synonymous epithets like Ajita, Ravi, and Bhaskara. The sun god is revered as the sustainer of life in the Vedic literature, dating from circa 1500 to 1000 BC. Interestingly enough, in spite of being one of the older deities of the Indian Hindu mythology, his creation myth often takes the complex route, with one narrative suggesting how he was the son of Jaun, the sky, while another hinting at how he was sired by Kasyapa, a Vedic sage, and Aditi, that limitless mother of the gods. In any case, befitting his status as the effulgent sun, Surya is often portrayed in a resplendent manner as a mighty figure seated atop an ostentatious chariot, drawn by 7 horses and driven by Aruna, the personification of dawn. But as was the fate of most early Vedic Hindu gods and goddesses, Surya was later identified with and made a composite of other prominent deities like Vishnu. Their composite form is known as Surya Narayana in the Yajur Veda. In the mythical narrative, the relegation is somewhat mirrored by the clipping of Surya's immense power, whose blazing shards were used for making destructive godly weapons, used by other devas such as the trident of Shiva and the lance of Karthikeyan. However, unlike some of his early Vedic brethren, Surya is still held in very high regard in modern-day Hinduism, as can be gathered from Surya Namaskar, an ancient technique of sun salutation that is used in various yoga regimens. Varuna, the god of the sky and oceans, an enigmatic Vedic deity among the Hindu gods, who was first associated with the sky. Varuna, he who encompasses, later symbolized the forces of oceans, clouds, and water. However, beyond the scope of skies and oceans, Rigveda also mentions how Varuna is the guardian of the moral law, encompassing both RTA, justice, and Satyas, or the truth. In that regard, the god serves his dual role as a ruthless punisher of the sinners and a compassionate forgiver of the remorseful. Varuna is sometimes also twinned with the god Mitra, and together, Mitra Varuna are revered as the gods of oaths and societal affairs. As for the mythical narrative, Rigveda does make mention of Varuna as both an asura or a demonic being and a deva heavenly being, which suggests that Varuna may have been adopted as a deva after the defeat of Vitra and altering of the cosmic order by Indra. Also known by his other monikers, Dharmaraja, or ruler of justice, and Mrityu, or death, Yama is mentioned in the Vedas as being the first mortal who died, thereby providing him with precedence to rule over his departed brethren. However, in Vishnu Purana, he, along with his twin sister Yami, is extolled as the son of Vivasat, the resplendent sun god of Hindu mythology, and Saranyu Samja, the Hindu goddess of conscience. Lastly is Yama, the god of the death and the god of underworld. The major deity of the death and the underworld among the Hindu gods and goddesses, Yama was, and is, venerated as a patron god of the ancestors and the divine judge of the departed souls. Interestingly enough, unlike some other ruthless deities of death in various mythologies, Yama was often, though not always, portrayed as a thoughtful entity who went through all the just and due process to judge the fate of a human soul. Often aided by his trusty scribe, Chitragupta, and his register, Agrasadhani, that records the deeds of the judged person, Yama has the power to offer either immortality to the soul, which then resides in content under the patronage of Yama, or offer rebirth, thus suggesting another chance at leading a good life. While on the other hand, Yama can also decide to condemn a soul, which, according to the mythical narrative, is then banished down to the 21 levels of hell. The lower the strata, the worse the fate. As for his depiction, Yama was, and is, often portrayed with his dark green or blue skin, carrying his rod made from a fragment of Surya, and riding atop a buffalo.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mitchell George, and I will present to you the post-Vedic Hindu gods and goddesses. To start with, we have Saraswati. Saraswati is a feminine deity of wisdom, art, music, knowledge, and writing, an important figure among the ancient Hindu gods and goddesses. In fact, she started out as an early Vedic goddess who symbolizes the aspect of rivers and mothers, essentially pertaining to her powers of healing and purifying. She is also a patron of arts and sciences and the wife of Brahma. Next is Shakti. Shakti is known to be the goddess of power. Given the association to creation or birth on an elemental level, Shakti is often considered feminine in form and in thus given the epithet of the Great Divine Mother. Her mother form, also known as Adi Shakti or Adi Parashakti, which means supreme energy, is not only equated to creation but also venerated as the bringer or agent of change. In terms of Hindu mythology, Shakti is often viewed as the feminine energy reserved within Shiva. In other words, she epitomizes the creation power of Shiva, often identified as her consort and lover Parvati. And as such, 8 other mother goddesses represent the Shakti power of their male counterparts. Next is Durga, or the demon-slaying warrior goddesses. Is one of the principal feminine deities among the Hindu gods and goddesses, also known by other names including Amba, Bhavani, and the ubiquitous Devi Durga, literally meaning invincible or unassailable, is venerated as a warrior goddess tasked with vanquishing evil and thus protecting the scope of peace and prosperity. Next we have is Kali, Kali or the goddess of destruction. While Durga espouses the magnificence of Shakti, Kali among the Hindu gods and goddesses represents the violent nature of Shakti power. The feminine form of Kalam, meaning dark-colored or dark blue. Kali is often portrayed as one of the incarnation of Parvati's skin, which the goddess sheds. While one famous legend even mentions her as a manifestation of the destructive power of Durga herself. Next is Ganesha. Ganesha, or the god of intellect and arts. One of the popular deities among the Hindu gods and goddesses. Ganesha, also known as Ganapati and Vinayaka, is visually conspicuous by virtue of his elephant head. In the mythical narrative, he is the son of Shiva and Parvati, and as such is usually depicted as the jovial deity with a pleasant personality and plump physical attributes. Ganesha is often venerated as the patron god of intellect, letters, arts, and sciences, who is also responsible for creating the order and classes of men. Ganapati meaning lord of classes or categories. As for his instinct elephant head, the popular myth relates to how Shiva unknowingly struck down his original human head after the supreme god who was denied access to his own abode by Ganesha on account of the latter's guarding duty when Parvati was bathing. However, the remorseful Shiva, later learning of his son's identity, replaced the part with that of a powerful element's head.
So here is the another god of the post-Vedic Hindu gods and goddesses. So the goddess Lakshmi. So the goddess Lakshmi is the Hindu goddess of wealth, purity, youth, beauty, and good fortune. So she serves as the domestic deity. So Lakshmi, or the goddess Lakshmi, is a consort of God Vishnu. So she is one of the most popular goddesses of Hindu mythology. Lakshmi serves as a domestic deity because householders worship her as a symbol of providing for the well-being and prosperity of the family. So businessmen and women celebrate her as a symbol of prosperity. So next is Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna is the god of compassion, tenderness, and love. He is one of the most powerful incarnations of Lord Vishnu. So I have said a while ago that Lord Vishnu reincarnates to protect the universe. So here is one of the avatar of Lord Vishnu named Lord Krishna. So Lord Krishna is the 8th incarnation or avatar of the Hindu god Trimurti, Lord Vishnu. So he is the most powerful incarnation of Lord Vishnu. He is considered a supreme deity and is worshipped across many traditions of Hinduism. So it is said that Lord Krishna and Lord Vishnu is one of the same. This is how Lord Krishna describes God in the Holy Gita. And to most Hindus, he is the God himself and the supreme being. So here is, I am the conscience in the heart of all creatures. I am their beginning, their being, their end. I am the mind of the senses. I am the radiant sun among lights. I am the song in sacred lore. I am the king of deities. I am the priest of great seers. So that is how Lord Krishna described God by the Holy Gita. So now let's proceed to the creations that is based on Hindu mythology. So there are many story of creations in the Hindu mythology. And I have here two creations, and the other one will be shown. So, first, the Hindu creation story of Purusha, the primal man. So the Rig Veda book 10, chapter 90, verses 1 to 3 and 9 to 12 tells the creation story of Purusha, the primal man. So Purusha is a divine being, a cosmic giant who exists before time began. So he split up, exploded, or spread out into all directions and created the gods and the universe itself. So from him come all the spiritual beings in heaven, as well as all the remainder of everything that is in the earthly world. So both the living and the non-living. So here is the story, or the edited version of the story. So the primal man, or Purusha, had 1,000 heads, eyes, and feet. He filled the earth completely. Indeed, his body was larger than this world. The primal man fills this universe and represents the past, the present, and the future. He is eternal and outgrows the universe by consuming sacrificial food. The visible world is only a quarter of his greatness. The remaining 3/4 is hidden in the immortal heaven. From the complete explosive self-sacrifice of Purusha came forth all the sacred sounds of creation. From it also arose all things and lives and minds that are born into the world, including horses and other creatures with teeth in either jaw, like cattle, sheep, and goats. When the primal man split up, into how many parts was he divided? What presented his mouth, arms, thighs, and feet? The Brahmin, or priest, was his mouth. The Kshatriya, or warrior, or king, is his arms. The Vaisya, or merchant, his thighs, and the Shudra, the peasants, were born from his feet. So now let's proceed to earliest heroes of Hindu mythology. So we have here Rama. So Rama is the 7th avatar of Vishnu. He is the hero in the Ramayana epic. So he is the hero that killed Ravana, the 10-headed demon. So Arjuna is the chief hero of the Mahabharata epic. He is the son of Indra and one of the 5 Pandava brothers. So Mahabharata, the ancient Indian epics, Mahabharata is the longest epic in world literature with 100,020 stanzas, first composed about 5,000 years ago. The Ramayana is the first Indian epic consisting of 24,000 verses divided into 7 books that is composed about 6,500 years ago. So that's all. Thank you for listening.
And as for the popular stories, folktales, and legends, we will be showing you a video of a book summary of a Ramayana.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a new episode of Great Books in 10 Minutes. By the end of this episode, you will know all that you need about the epic of Ramayana. It is believed that Ramayana was the first poem of the Sanskrit language. It is a beautiful tale of love, loyalty, and faith that takes its readers to an exciting and enlightening journey. Written in 500 BC, the Ramayana is one of the largest ancient epics in world literature. It is about 480,000 words, which is 4 times the length of the Iliad. During the ages, the heroes of Ramayana have been revered amongst the people of India, and because it represents the teachings of the ancient Hindu sages, it has shaped many of the beliefs of the Hindu religion. The main themes of the Ramayana are divinity, love, loyalty, heroism, resilience, and sacrifice. Valmiki is known as the first poet of the Sanskrit literature. There are not many facts known about his life, but the legends attributed to him are each like a great epic on their own. At first, he was devoted to his family, but during a long drought, and for the sake of his hungry children, he started robbing people that he found in the forest. One day, when he was bathing in a stream, he saw 2 cranes mating. The beauty of the scene and the happiness of the birds felt pleasing to him. Suddenly, one of the birds got hit by an arrow and died right away. The other bird, seeing its mate falling, screamed in pain and died of shock. Outraged by what he had just witnessed, Valmiki cried and composed what is believed to be the first poem of the Sanskrit language. Other legends mention that Valmiki heard a voice telling him that what he had just said was a poem and that he should abandon banditry and dedicate his life to poetry. Long ago, in a country called Kosalas, there was a fair king named Dasarata. The king had 3 wives, but none of them could bear a child for him. Worried for the future of his kingdom and hoping to have a true heir to his throne, he performed a fire sacrifice to the god Vishnu. As a result, his wives each gave birth to a boy. The older one was Rama, then Bharata, and Lakshmana. These 3 princes, who were to a certain extent hosts to the essence of the supreme entity Vishnu, were all revered in the kingdom, but among them Rama soon found a special place in his father's heart. A few years passed, and the boy became a young man. One day he heard a story about a girl named Sita in the neighboring kingdom of Janaka who was unparalleled in beauty. Sita's father had decided that whoever could lift and wield a heavy bow, which was given to his ancestors by god Shiva himself, could ask for Sita's hand in marriage. Rama, who was now burning in desire to see Sita, traveled to her country and asked for the bow. When they brought it to him, he lifted the bow and wielded it with ease. Then he drew the string and the bow broke from his godlike strength. Rama then married Sita and returned with his wife to his country. Rama's father, King Dasarata, who was old now, chose Rama as his heir. The decision was welcomed by everyone, and both the kingdom's assembly and the people supported him. On the night of the great celebration, one of Dasarata's wives claimed 2 boons that the king had granted her a long time ago. For the first one, she demanded Rama to be exiled into a faraway land for 14 years, while the succession passes to her son Bharata. Heartbroken by this betrayal and bound to his given word, King Dasarata agreed to his wife's demands. Rama accepted his father's decision with absolute obedience and prepared to leave the kingdom. When Rama asked Sita to stay and not follow him, his devoted wife replied, "The forest where you dwell is better than the palace for me, and the palace without you is a burning hell." So the prince, accompanied by his wife and brother Lakshmana, left their kingdom and set foot towards the unknown. Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana traveled south and built their homes on the banks of a river. There they were visited by a demon named Shurpanka, who was the sister to Ravana, king of demons. She at first tried to seduce Rama, but when he did not fall for her spell, she tried to kill Sita out of jealousy. Lakshmana captured her before committing the murder and cut her nose and ears. When the news reached Ravana, king of demons, he plotted to ruin Rama by capturing Sita. He ordered one of his minions to take the form of a golden deer and appear before Sita. Mesmerized by the beauty of the deer, Sita asked Rama to capture it for her. Rama followed the deer into the forest and left his brother Lakshmana to protect Sita. After a few hours, Sita started hearing Rama's voice, calling her name and asking for her help. Despite Lakshmana's opinion that the best course of action is to follow Rama's order and stay in put, Sita insisted that he must go out and look for him. Lakshmana agreed, but before leaving he drew a line around their home and cast a spell that would stop anyone from getting in, but allowed people to exit. When Lakshmana left, Ravana appeared before Sita in the guise of an old man and tricked her to leave the cottage to help him. But when Sita stepped out of the boundary of the spell, Ravana showed his true self and kidnapped her. Rama and Lakshmana heard about what happened to Sita from a vulture, and they immediately moved to rescue her. During their search to locate Sita, the two brothers find their way into the kingdom of monkeys and meet Hanuman, the great hero of the apes. Rama found out that the monkeys were in the middle of a civil war, and the false king named Vali had managed to take over and banish their rightful leader from their homeland. After helping the apes to reclaim their country, Hanuman, who later became Rama's greatest devotee, assumed a gigantic form and took a huge leap towards Lanka, the country of demons. He located Sita in a grove where she was being threatened by demons into marrying Ravana. Hanuman gave Rama's ring to Sita and offered to rescue her, but Sita refused his help and said, "When Rama was not there to protect me, the Demon King kidnapped me, and now when the Demon King is not present here, you are going to rescue me. Rama himself must come and avenge the insult for my abduction." When they received Sita's answer, Rama and Lakshmana formed an army and moved to save her. When they arrived at the southern sea, with the help of the apes, they built a bridge and crossed the water into the land of demons. A massive battle ensued, and Lakshmana got injured by a powerful weapon. To find the cure, Hanuman traveled to Himalayas. However, no matter how much he looked around, he could not identify the one specific herb that he was looking for. So he morphed into his huge form again and carried the entire mountain with him. In the final battle between Rama and Ravana, the prince shot a divine arrow that had the power of gods in it, which hit Ravana in the heart and killed him. When Rama met his beloved Sita again, she insisted on going through with the test of fire to prove her chastity and silence the rumors about her purity. A sacrificial altar was arranged and Sita jumped into the fire. After a few moments, Agni, Lord of Fire, appeared in all his glory and raised Sita unharmed to the throne, attesting to her innocence. Rama, Sita, Lakshmana, and Hanuman went back to Kosalas. Rama was coronated as the king and people rejoiced at his return. A few peaceful years followed until rumors concerning Sita's purity, mostly spearheaded by one of Rama's ministers, started to spread again. Spies informed Rama that people are now questioning his choice in making Sita his queen. Rama at first did not heed the rumors and resisted them, but when the pressure increased, he doubted his queen and ordered Lakshmana to take Sita to a forest and leave her there. Sita found her way into an ashram or monastery and gave birth to Rama's two sons, Lava and Kusha. After a few years, the sage of that ashram suggested that Rama's sons should travel to their father's kingdom and tell the story behind Sita's life to the common folk. While facing many difficulties, the two brothers found their way into their father's palace. Rama recognized them instantly as his sons and regretted his cruelty and reversed his order in regards to Sita. When the queen returned, once again the rumors started brewing, and the same complicit minister suggested another purity test. Outraged by the continuous accusations and heartbroken by the constant cruelty against her, Sita begged Mother Earth, Bhumi, to rescue her from an unpleasant life. In a dramatic moment, the earth split open and Goddess Bhumi appeared before everyone. She testified to Sita's purity, but this time announced that because she has suffered so much in her life while being faithful and innocent all the time, Sita is now amongst the gods. Afterward, Rama ruled for many years and built a prosperous country for his people, and eventually he left this world with his brothers. In the afterlife, he assumed his Vishnu form and joined Sita, who was now in the form of goddess Lakshmi. Very well, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the end of this video. I hope you liked my summary of the Ramayana. Please consider subscribing to my channel and see you in the next episode.